MS at its core, it actually it's funny. At its core, some people refer to it as traumatic brain injury. It's inflammation of nerves in your brain and spine. It's an autoimmune disease, and your body just decides to go, you know what, I don't like my nerves. I'm going to attack it and cause inflammation, and then they scar over, and your nerve endings stop kind of firing efficiently. It's kind of like, sticking a fork in a cable. It's going to eventually kind of wear it out.
Shorts it,
wears it out. So, I mean, depending on how severe your kind of flare-ups can be, it can affect a whole range of things, from taste to vision to the way your motor skills, both hands, feet, everywhere. Bladder issues, bowel issues.
Sure.
There's a whole gambit. If you look at symptoms of it, you're like, how are all those related?
Right.
Well, it's nerve wrappings, right? I mean, there's some weird.
Your whole nervous system's connected. So once you start down that process, you don't know where it's going to go. So that's part of the issue. So you have to be aware of a lot of different things all the time.
Yep.
And there's probably some paranoia where you're like, things that we don't notice because we're not looking for them. You probably fixate on them. You're like, oh no.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. I developed Bell's palsy over Christmas.
Oh.
And the whole right side of my face dropped. And
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, right. And I went to the neurologist, and he's like, yeah, it's not related to MS, but it's the inflammation of the facial nerve. And I'm like, well, how? It's because it wasn't in my brain or my spine.
Right.
That wasn't the root of the inflammation. But it's weird. Everyone I know who has MS has had Bell's palsy, but they still say there's no direct correlation.
And there's no way you can catch it. There's no cure for it.
Nope.
There's no real genetic link for it, I don't think.
The one genetic. Sorry, there we go. The one genetic link is in all the research, they find that family that have lineage from Northern Europe tend to be affected with multiple sclerosis the most. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Tell us about your website. You don't know Jack about MS, or
You Don't Know Jack About MS is a partnership with Teva Neuroscience.
Sure.
And we decided to create kind of an awareness page website. We put up tons of content, video, do videos, little webisodes and stuff. And it's all, the main focus is about kind of awareness and, understanding of what MS is, because there's just much like addiction, there's a huge stigma attached to multiple sclerosis and what it actually is versus what it isn't.
Yeah, well, nobody really, Andrew, do you find this? First of all, if you're out there and you have some sort of symptom, never Google it.
Yeah.
Because they'll tell you you're going to die in 4 years anyway.
Yeah, very true.
But this is why we love you, because this is information, right? This is one of those strange, like Parkinson's or these other diseases, have no cure, no rhyme or reason.
Yeah,
really.
this is a neurological disorder, but we've had multiple diseases that have been around for a long time, and we're right now starting to look at genes and gene therapy, and there's all these new possibilities. But like most diseases, we don't really understand where they come from. We're still trying to figure a lot of that out. People think that medicine is this advanced science.
No.
Parts of it is are, but there's a lot that we still have to learn, and that's why I get so horrified when they stop dropping funding for key research.
Yeah.
Especially raw research, which isn't really, headline producing research, but it's the critical components that have to be assembled at a micro level before somebody can then, put all those together to actually get real answers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the government's really shutting down a lot of research, and it's a real shame because there's still so much work to be done.
Yeah.
It's You Don't Know Jack About MS. It's a long one word. You Don't Know Jack About MS. As my former partner, Nancy O'Dell, would say, how'd you come up with the You Don't Know Jack? Well, his name is Jack Osbourne. You Don't Know Jack About MS.com. What kind of response have you had?
Really positive. There was I think people were really unsure about, like, whoa, what is this website going to be? What is it? What is it going to have on it? And the response has been pretty awesome. I get a lot of people reaching out to me through social media, asking me questions, asking me about, what I do, what's my health routine, what kind of treatment do I do, the whole thing. It is a very kind of community-based kind of disease.
Yeah.
There's support groups, there's everything. There are some parallels, in recovery with the MS community.
Have you had a lot of people accuse your MS directly to your drug addiction?
Very early on, just people who have no idea. They're like,
Right.
if you weren't such a drug addict, you wouldn't have got MS. It's like, well, thank you for your
Your great insight.
your groundbreaking insight.
Medical.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you.
here's what's interesting, and we're going to talk about addiction when we come back. But here's what's interesting, is I've looked at your website, obviously, and then went around and looked at the other ones, and yours ironically has more information that's understandable on it.
That was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny you bring that up because my biggest thing is like trying to explain this to someone. It can get you can get lost in the jargon, and like if you don't know anatomy and all that kind of the inner workings of the nervous system, you're like, wait, what is myelin? How I don't get that, and all this stuff. So I really wanted to make it as simple and as digestible as possible.